Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
So, good morning, folks. Welcome to the Lightning Strike. I am your host, Mohammed Fahim. And joining me today are Dr. Sheila White, Chris Hilbert. We're expecting Brendan Bond to join us shortly. And Mike Patino is joining us all the way from Maui, Hawaii. Good morning, Mike.
It looks like he disappeared.
Oops. Okay, so he may be having technical difficulties. He was afraid of that, okay?
Yep, there he is. He's back.
Okay, but we have a lot of things to talk about again today, folks. The world is going to hell in a handbasket, and it seems like the USA is carrying it over there. In the second hour, we will be joined by not doctor. See, I keep on saying doctor. Sheila, you have made me think about doctors. So Dr. White is actually working on a movie set, folks. That is being the movie is being filmed in Joliet, right? Right, Sheila?
Yes, in the city of Joliet, city of champions.
Okay. And we were talking about, hey, why didn't you think about casting me as a doctor in the movie? And she and I had a good chuckle this morning on Okay. So, but coming back to the topics, folks, in the second hour, we have Alderman Byron Sexto Lopez joining us. He's running as an independent for the 6th Congressional District, and we will have a long conversation with him. So today, if you want to join the conversation, the number to call in is 773-763 9278. Let me repeat the number, 773-763-9278, 9278, I'm sorry. And you can also text us on Facebook or on this number. You can text us if you want to share some thoughts in the conversations. So coming back to what is happening in the world, we are going to talk today about 10 different things, okay, because we got the time. Reed Bible, by the way, is not joining us today. Reed is having some kind of a fundraiser for the congressional primary in Nevada. He joins us from Nevada. And so Reed is missing in action today. Congresswoman Marie Newman is traveling. She is in the air, and so she will not be on the air. So I want to talk about the ceasefire illusion in the Iran war, okay? And then I want to look at competing war narratives, victory versus reality. What the heck is happening over there? And remember, this is our tax dollars at work. I want to talk about gas prices and the hidden cost of war. 69% of Americans say gas prices are their top concern, folks. And the oil shock is tied to the trade disruptions, right? When I say trade disruptions, I mean the Strait of Hormuz. So war is hitting our wallet. We need to talk about that. The global economic fallout of this folly of the Trump government. We need to talk about that. Inflation is back and rising. Let's talk about that also, right? Energy prices now are pushing inflation upwards again, and consumer spending is weakening. So war, inflation leads to economic pressure at home. We need to talk about that. The Strait of Hormuz power play. What is happening over there? And then war fatigue and public distrust. So we're going to talk about all of those things and the true cost of war beyond the battlefield. Remember that in the past couple of weeks, we have had some veterans who were impacted by the war come and talk about the human cost of war. So we're going to talk about those things and rescue missions that happen and war reality versus myth. We're going to talk about that recent down pilot story. and whether, how true it was and how war stories get distorted. And finally, is Iran emerging stronger from all of this? So those are some of the topics that we want to talk about today. Guys, you got anything to say, Sheila and Chris? And hey, Brendan, welcome.
It's going to be a great show today. The lightning strikes every Sunday in the Chicago area. So many things going on, so many hot topics, and I'm so happy that we're going to delve into these topics on today because this is something that everybody is feeling. All of those things that you had mentioned, and so it's going to be a great show. Looking forward to getting into it and seeing where the lightning is going to strike next.
Okay. So let's get started, Sheila. Let's get started, okay? So, folks, this is Muhammad Fahim, and this is the Lightning Strike. And today we need to ask a hard question. Not just why the ceasefire talks failed in Pakistan. You have all heard that by now, right? 21 hours of negotiations. And they say the talks failed. So we need to talk about why did the talks fail? And also, who did we send to the table and what that says about us? So after 21 hours, there was no deal. The ceasefire is hanging by a thread and both sides are blaming each other. Meanwhile, our wallets are getting hit over here at home and all over the world. So Vice President J.D. Vance says Iran refused to compromise. He came out with that statement. Iran says the U.S. made unrealistic demands. And but let's step back a little bit, okay? Let's look at the table. On one side, the United States sent Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and J.D. Vance himself. Jared Kushner, who the heck is he? Is he an elected official? Is he an appointed official? What is his official designation, folks? And if you want to talk about that, again, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. So the United States, we send Jared Kushner, we sent Steve Witkoff and J.D. Vance himself, right? What a great negotiator. What is J.D. Vance's past roles so far? This is not just a diplomatic team, folks. This is a political team. Now look at the other side, okay? I'm just going to focus on a couple of Abbas Araghchi and Mohammed Bakr Ghalibaf, I believe that's his full name. Both of them have PhDs, okay? And they are seasoned negotiators, career diplomats, people who have spent decades inside the machinery of statecraft. And here is the uncomfortable question, folks, that we need to be asking our leaders. Are we matching experience with experience or influence with expertise? Because even before these talks began, Iranian officials had made it clear they did not trust Kushner and Witkoff. They viewed them as unreliable, even deceptive. There have been news stories that when Netanyahu came to visit in the past, he stayed at Kushner's home. He even slept in Kushner's bedroom while Kushner slept, on the couch outside. So obviously, the Iranians are not going to trust this person, right? They viewed them as unreliable, even deceptive. So why send negotiators the other side already distrusts? And that is a valid question that we can ask. And then we act surprised when talks collapse. But there's something even bigger that we have to consider. Okay, and I'm going a little bit deeper into this today because we have some more time. Sometimes there's something that no one wants to say aloud, right? This war did not begin in a vacuum. It escalated through actions involving the United States. And remember the other country that no one wants to name? Yeah, I'm going to name it. So, United States and Israel. So, here is the question. Why was Israel not at the table? Because Iran made it clear that no deal without addressing Lebanon, no deal without stopping Israeli actions. I mean, this is one country. Let's just think about it, okay? You think that you have a neighbor in your neighborhood, okay? And this guy picks up a fight with the neighbor on the right, and someone comes in and says, hey, come on, guys, don't fight. And he immediately turns around and picks up a neighbor fight with the neighbor on the left. Oh, they're going to come and attack me. Hell no, no one's going to be attacking you folks, okay? So Iran made it clear that no deal without addressing Lebanon, no deal without stopping Israeli actions. So how do you negotiate a ceasefire? That is the question that I have. When one of the central actors isn't even in the room. And when the United States announced that we are going to put boots on the ground, Israel immediately came out and said, oh, no, we are not going to be assisting that. It is not our war. We did not start it. America started the war. So when one of the central actors, Mike, isn't even in the room, how do you negotiate a ceasefire? You can't, right? And that may be the real reason this failed. Not just disagreement over nuclear programs, not just demands and counter demands, but a fundamental mismatch. Mismatch in representation, mismatch in trust, and mismatch in who actually holds power on the ground. So this wasn't just a failed negotiation, folks. It was a failed structure. Because diplomacy is not theater. You don't send people because they are close to power, because they are related to you. You send people because they understand diplomacy. And when you don't just lose the deal. You risk losing the peace, not just for America, but for the rest of the world. So let me bring in Mike and Dr. White and Chris and Brendan into the conversation. And then we will continue with some other things that I want to have. It's going to be a long rant today. And if you want to join the conversation, again, as a listener, 773-763-9278. This is the Lightning Strike live on WCPT 820 AM. Okay, guys, what do you have to say?
Well, good morning. I'll start out if you don't mind.
Okay, we'll give you that
from
privilege,
Hawaii.
Mike.
Well, my internet connection's breaking out, so I got to strike while the iron.
Oh, he missed it.
Oops. Okay, I think someone pulled the plug on his iron, Chris.
Well, I was going to say I hadn't read such a well thought out description of the failure that you just presented, Mohammed. That was really well done. Definitely something that I had not really thought about, and I think you're correct, in everything that you said. And you can't have corporatists. Let's just call it what Kushner et al. Really are. They're corporatists. Yep. You can't have corporatists doing the job of diplomats. I mean, that's why you have career diplomats. They're career corporatists, and the goals are totally different. And that does not, like you said, that doesn't lead to a good conclusion in negotiations.
And why wasn't, like I said, we have career diplomats, right? We have a U.S. Foreign Service.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Why are they being sidelined? And we send this guy, Jared Kushner, who, by the way, had a plan to build a Riviera on the West Bank in Jerusalem, okay, in Israel and in Palestine. So he had a complete plan to rebuild Palestine after the war. And now we send this guy over there. And meanwhile, the Israelis are pivoting on a dime now, and they are bombing the heck out of Lebanon. Oh, Hezbollah is there. Hezbollah is there. Well, they had similar things about Palestine, that they were going after the terrorists, so-called. Okay, Sheila, your take.
You know what? Chris is right. A career diplomat would not say, we're going to wipe out civilization. So we're going to take you back to the Stone Age. That would not be the things that would be coming out of their mouths. They would be trying to approach this in a very formal and a very humanitarian way to bring about order. And obviously, this administration has got some reckoning to do with all of America and the world, because the type of rhetoric that's coming out of this administration right now, and it's not just the president, there are Congress people, especially on the Republican side, that are not speaking up. And those that are speaking up are going along with this type of rhetoric. And I think it's just an atrocity what's happening and what's going on. And so it's really amazing. You know, it's really kind of funny. Around 1971, there was a gentleman that did a song called Marvin Gaye. He was with the Motown era. You might remember that, Chris. And so what happened was he had a song that said, "What's going on? What's going on?" And that particular song was about, what was happening in the political observance, the unsettling things that were happening in the United States during that particular time. I think today, modern times, people are saying, "What's going on?" It's like that song is coming back. The echoes of that song is coming back because there's violence, there's hate, there are things that are happening that people just understand. There are people dying and people crying, literally all over, not only just America, but all over the world. And so that song, "What's Going On," is echoing back again because of the political unrest, what's happening in the United States, but not only the United States. People are globally upset. There's distrust happening pretty much everywhere. And we know with the No King rallies, not only just in the United States, there are No King rallies happening around the world. And we can see that the distrust is mounting. So America is not in the place that it used to be once upon a time. A lot of people say this is the divided states of America, not the United States of America. And so I think that we have to just really understand what's happening, like Marvin Gaye said, what's going on, and start to do something about it. Voting is one of the main things. A lot of people still aren't voting. That's one of our rights, and we have to protect that right to vote. And I know that the gentleman in Hawaii is itching to get in here, but I just want to say what Marvin Gaye said, "What's going on?" That's the sentiment of today that a lot of people are talking about. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, thank you for calling me a gentleman this morning.
Oh boy, did we make a mistake on that, Mike?
Yeah, it's like, what? Who?
Okay.
I have to hit. I get cut out of every minute here, but going back to what you said, Mohammed, about the sham of negotiations with these losers going in there against professionals, trying to talk and broker a ceasefire, and Israel is consistently broken the ceasefires agreements. Back in March in 2025, Israel broke a 2-month ceasefire on March 18th with surprise airstrikes in Gaza. In October 2025, truce intended to start on October 10th was broken by Israel shortly after, with nearly daily attacks. So, and then just a couple days after they signed an agreement, they started bombing Lebanon, which was part of the agreement, one of the demands from Iran. So I don't think they have any intention of reaching any kind of agreement.
And Mike, what gets me is, what is the end game over here? Thousands of people are getting killed. Thousands of people are getting injured. Thousands of people are being made homeless. I mean, if you look at the buildings that are impacted, oh no, Iran is also doing it. Yeah, what do you expect, folks? What do you expect when someone comes and ambushes you out of the blue? And anytime that there is negotiations going on, you know what Israel does? the Zionist government in there, they killed the negotiators. Okay. That's what happened
Yeah.
multiple times. They
Yep.
killed the negotiators. They, oh, sorry, that was a mistake. No, that was not a mistake. That was intentional.
Right. No, definitely. Definitely.
Well, let's see what Brendan has to say on that. Brendan, you've been very quiet, my friend, as a young man. This is a country that you are going to inherit, Brendan. We old folks would be long gone
Mhm.
when you end up with this mess in your lap.
The thing I wanted to lead with that I thought was interesting is this isn't a unique strategy that we've seen from our president, where either domestically or internationally there is some sort of negative story in the news, whether it's, the affordability crisis that he keeps denying, and then there is some sort of action taken either, if it's an international story, there's an action taken domestically. If it's a domestic story, there's an action taken internationally, where we get involved in something, it lasts like 2 months, and then there's this attempt to just resolve it, and then we end up like pretty much just where we started, but in a worse position. And I think that's, but I think, when it comes to geopolitics, it's much more complicated. Like you said, I completely agree with what you said about, it's not as simple as, sending JD Vance and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. It's, we're talking about geopolitics, very powerful countries, that are going to have experienced negotiating teams. And you also need an experienced negotiating team, or else you're going to end up in a worse situation.
Yep. And then, we have this notion that whatever that we are doing is right. The president keeps on changing goalposts. Okay. First off, it was beginning, oh, we are going to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. I mean, Iran had already signed the JCPOA agreement a long time back. Their, their religious leader, the Ayatollah, who we killed, by the way, when we first started this skirmish, had actually issued a fatwa or a religious ruling, the guy before him, that Islam does not allow to develop a nuclear weapon. No mass murders are allowed using nuclear weapons, and they were going to have nuclear technology only for peaceful purposes. Now we keep coming back and hearing that every time Netanyahu comes in here, says, oh, Iran is like 2 weeks away from making the bomb. Those 2 weeks have been going on for the last 20, 30 years now. And we keep falling for it. And Netanyahu has come up and said that he tried to get every American president to go to war for him, and no one did except for the current president. And our current president, I think he needs a strong mental evaluation. The guy comes out on Easter Sunday with all kinds of expletives. I mean, which country's leader has used the language that Donald Trump has been using openly, folks?
You know what? I'm in this instance, there's a saying, they say, taco Trump, Trump always chickens out. I'm kind of glad that he chickened out on this one and didn't try to wipe out an entire civilization. People know that's a war crime, first of all, but this particular time, I'm glad that he didn't put the money where his mouth was on that, because he does a lot of ranting and a lot of raving on his social media. But this particular time, everyone was watching. I mean, everyone around the world was watching, and people were really upset with the type of language that he used. And that was very strong language. And no sitting American president has ever came out with that type of language, and really was just saying, we're going to do this and we're going to wipe you out and you will not be able to rebuild again. That's very strong. And the world was watching. Had that have happened, you could just give it up for America, because the distrust is not there anyway because of what's happening now. And no country would have trusted America. There's not even any allies that could trust that we would be there for them and in their corner. So this particular time, I'm glad he chickened out and didn't do what he said he was going to do, because By that, he even gave the time, 8 o'clock, that was going to
Yep.
happen. The news media was watching. People were wanting and waiting. Is it going to happen? And then when he chickened out, for one time, I'm glad he did it on this on this particular time,
Well, I think
because that would have been,
someone took away Grandpa's keys that he was
yeah,
not allowed to drive the car. People
yes.
talk about the 25th Amendment that it needs to
Mm,
be. Well, the 25th Amendment was actually designed to kick in when a president is incapacitated in some way or the other. Okay, not because he makes stupid mistakes in
mm,
statecraft, but if he's physically incapacitated or mentally incapacitated. Okay, so you just can't bring in the 25th Amendment to remove a president just like that.
yeah.
I am told, and I need to do a little bit of research on this, that the Congress is asking the president's personal physician to do a mental evaluation on him
Mm,
and submit that report. Okay. And so if that report comes out that the president is not mentally fit to do his job, then the next step would be having people with enough spine.
mm,
That is the important word, okay, in both parties, the Democrats as well as the Republicans, to
mm,
step up to the
mm,
plate and say, enough is enough. And
mm.
it is not just the president, it is all the people that are surrounding the president. He's surrounded by yes men all over. And then our military, our heroes, when they refuse to accept some of these orders, what does Hegseth do? He starts firing all the top generals. Okay. So that he is left with only people who say yes. Folks, we are facing some strange forces in our country right now. And as Dr. White was saying, we need to come out and vote. And not just vote, we need to vote for the right people and then hold them accountable for their actions. And we can only do that if we become involved in civic activities. Most people, Sheila, they come up and say, oh, it is politics. I don't like politics. I don't want to be part of politics. Every
Mm.
single thing that we have, folks, is decided by the people that we elect. Don't forget it, okay? The libraries in your district, the roads that you drive on, the food that you eat, the medicines that you take, the medical help, every single aspect of our life is decided by the people that we elect.
True.
Yep.
Very true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You talk about people having a spine in the Congress. Their spines are fused. They're not bending for Trump. They're going along with whatever he says, whatever he wants to do. And they're not bending for what the people want, what the people are saying. They see what's happening. It's not just the Democrats in Congress that are complaining about what's going on. People in the streets are complaining. There are so many reporters talking to people in the streets, what's going on, what's happening, and they're voicing their opinions, but within their districts and in their areas, they're not listening. It's like their spines are fused to just go in the direction that the administration wants them to go. So it's amazing. It's amazing the
And
times that we're in.
Sheila, the administration is going in the direction that foreign interests are telling us to. Our foreign policy,
Exactly.
folks, is not determined or decided by our elected leaders. Our foreign policy is being heavily influenced by a foreign country, which is telling us what to do on their behalf.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's no two words around that, okay? And then if you get into talking about things, guess what? They are buying out all the media, okay? So you can't complain in the media. And any person in the media who dares to speak out, guess what happens?
Canceled.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The shows are canceled, their voices are stifled. And if it was not for social media, even in social media, they can monitor and, they can let us not hear what is happening on the other side or what people are thinking, really thinking.
Mm.
And then our president comes up with his own stupid social media platform called Truth Social. And most of the policies that we are supposed to implement are announced on Truth Social, not in Congress, not through the
Yeah.
administrative, system.
Yeah.
But the president gets up at 2 o'clock at night. I don't know if his diaper is wet or something at that time that he gets up because, this guy is obviously got some health issues. And then he's sitting there tweeting away at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night, whatever comes into his mind.
Hmm.
And most of
Mhm.
what is coming out of his mind now is nothing but drivel. Okay. No sense to it. No idea about, Sheila, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone. He's, 80 years old, give him like another 5, 10, whatever years, right? I mean, he's not going to live
Mhm.
forever.
Well, he wants to run in 2028 again. So they're already working towards that vein of should he run again and should things change? And when you were talking earlier about the consumer spending and things that are happening, I would like to know the cost of the war. You had mentioned that a little bit earlier, and I think those numbers need to be brought out, the cost of the war, because we can't afford Medicare, Medicaid, all these social services. They're cutting those. Doge has cut out a lot, but yet how much does it cost to go into war every day? And I know you gave those numbers before.
$2 billion per day. Okay.
Mm.
$2 billion with a B. And not only just the raw cost of it, look at the human cost. And that is why we had those veterans like Ken Bentley and others on the air to talk about the human cost of war.
Mhm.
Well, it just kind of proves that Republicans lie when they say, they are pro-life. No, you're not pro-life. You love to start wars. You actually hate life. You hate people.
Mm.
All you care
Mhm.
about is money.
Yeah,
You don't care about
exactly.
people.
Mhm. Because
It's
people are literally dying, Chris.
right,
People are
and they don't
dying because
care.
their benefits are being cut.
Yes.
And a lot of people cannot survive without their medicine, and they're dependent on these social services. And so when you cut these social services, there's nothing else there left. So what does it have? People are going to go to the hospital and they're going to die.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to the hospital. They're going to die at home. This is just a tragic situation that they're setting up people to lose lives outside of the war. I mean, it's a war here and it's a war abroad as well, because people are literally going to die if these benefits are cut. They're not going to be able to afford just groceries. And they already can't afford gas. Gas prices, we know, are going up.
Yeah.
Everything is happening. Everything is skyrocketing right now. So consumer spending is just getting to a point where you cannot afford a home, hardly. You can't. People want to go to college. That's being threatened because the benefits aren't going to be there. So this is a trickle down effect, a domino effect of what's going to happen. It's like the taking down of America, the great country. The eagle is wounded right now. The eagle is falling from the sky. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And so when you talk about 2 billion with a B, Muhammad, that's no joke. Just $1 billion could go into the spending of some of these services. The TSA, look at them, how long they've gone on without pay, yet they want to fund other programs like ICE, things that can hurt individuals, not just protecting the country, because ICE is not just protecting the country, they're hurting a lot of people, dividing up a lot of families. So we really have to look at this and see what's going on and just really continue to protest against the things that are going on that we don't agree with. That's the only hope, and vote. That's the other thing.
Yep. And folks, so you're tuned into the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning to raise awareness, to wake you up from your slumber. This is our country. Let's take it back. Okay, Mike, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Well, we're talking about the money, and it's really sad when the Pentagon reports spending $11.3 billion in just the first 6 days of Operation Epic Fury. I mean, so it's astronomical, the money that we're going to be spending over there. And isn't there a vote coming up pretty soon for 200 billion in emergency supplemental funding?
They are asking for it. They're asking for it.
Is that set yet? Because I know Ro Khanna, who is a friend of the lightning strike, was on, and he's really railing against it and can't believe that they're even asking for that. So that's in the mix.
Yep. Hey, let us switch topics a little bit and talk about our great First Lady coming up with a press conference.
Wow.
That was like literally out of the blue, and there's all kinds of speculations. So I'm not going to go too deep into this because we keep on saying that facts matter on WCPT and on the lightning strike. But we did have the First Lady of the United States come up with a press conference in which she denied any connections or friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. And remember, folks, this entire boondoggle started off with the Epstein files. And we have really not heard the word Epstein recently since the war started, or rather, since this skirmish started. The president still is refusing to call it a war because he needs congressional approval in order to go to war against any adversary, right? Okay. So Epstein was off the radar for the last month now. And suddenly our First Lady decides to come out. I wonder what is happening in the White House, folks. Okay.
Oh my goodness. It's not really funny, but it is funny because her of all people should not have brought it up. The media was just like, what is going on? Like I said, Marvin Gaye song, What's Going On? They were trying to figure out, why is she bringing this up? And I think she's really upset that there are pictures. There's proof in the pudding out there that she has been linked to Epstein. It's not that she's saying, I have nothing to do with him. I don't know him. People are spreading rumors about. When someone has a picture of you, literally, that's proof in the pudding. This is before AI, mind you. This is before AI came about. But these are actual pictures, and there's documentation with her connected to Epstein, and all of these files that have not been released, all these files that have been redacted, and all of this stuff going on. Her hand is caught in the cookie jar, point blank. It's like if somebody walks by and you're sitting in a car and they take a picture of you, and then later on you say, I wasn't in the car. Well, the picture of you was you were in the car. So I think it's interesting that she did that, because people are saying, well, the proof is there. You were there. This is you. You do have a relationship. There's documented proof that you had a link to Epstein. And so for you to say, I had nothing to do with it, I didn't know him, all of that, it's unbelievable. And it's for her to bring this up back again into our attention about the Epstein files, and everybody's thinking about the war. We were distracted for a minute, so to speak. And when she comes up out of the clear blue to give her rant about this situation, everybody's like, what's going on? And just made us come right back to the beginning again, saying, okay, what are we really trying to hide here? And it put her husband in the situation again. So
well,
it's kind of comical in a way.
Speaking of her husband, she said that she met her husband at a party in 1978 or whatever that year was. And Epstein had nothing to do with introducing them. She met her husband at a party. Lady, your husband was already married to Marla Maples at that time. He was the husband of someone else. He was not your husband that you met.
Yes, that's true. And this happened all the time with him. He's done this, previous time to his other wives as well. So it's nothing new.
look at the morality of these people, Sheila. I mean,
Mm.
I met my husband in no, he was not your husband. She could have said, I met Donald Trump in 1978. And then,
Right, right.
you know, Mike,
She met someone else's
I,
husband at that time, is what she should have said.
yeah, I have to
She
throw in
met
something.
another woman's husband at that time.
It, talking about the morality of the
Ah,
royal family there. I came across this historic first. You know,
mm,
got the genocide and all the poor children that were massacred and murdered,
right.
20,000, 30,000, whatever the number is. It's, just horrific. And on March 2nd, 2026, Melania became the first sitting U.S. First Lady to preside over a UN Security Council meeting where she advocated for global children's safety and education. The hypocrisy of that, the audacity to sit there and claim that this is what you stand for, knowing full well what your husband and the administration has already done to all these children. Uh,
Yeah.
it's beyond comprehension how these people just keep going, and I don't know where they're getting the fan base from. I'll tell you that much.
well,
Mike, isn't that the meeting where she was there just a few minutes, like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and she
Yeah,
walks
yeah,
off and leaves after making this grand 5 minute speech or a little speech, and then she walks off. They thought she was going to come back, spend time with the other diplomats and the people that are fighting for children and all these types of rights, and she never showed back up. So all the panel and everyone had to continue on that whole conference without her being there. Yet she's the
right.
person that is supposed to be standing in those shoes representing this important cause. It's
hey, Sheila,
That's one.
in her defense, she grew up performing 5-minute acts. So
It was an Academy Award winning moment, is what it was. It was an Academy Award winning moment.
you can only be on that stage on a pole, you know. If you are on a stage and you don't see the pole, you walk off, and that's what happened.
That is true.
Okay. Mike says that is true. Mike, how many of those stages have you seen, sir?
I might have seen a couple.
Mm,
Okay.
Back a long time ago.
Folks, one of the things that, of course, we are laughing and we are chuckling, that is a defense mechanism that we have to develop. Because what is happening, it is soul-searing, for lack of a better word, Sheila. It's, it really grabs you when you see these people coming out and literally our money, our tax dollars are funding this genocide all over the world.
Yeah.
Okay. We talk about the military industrial complex. Yeah. And then we have the political, jokers club that we have in Washington right now. And we are not holding these people accountable. That's what gets me. And people are giving up. When I talk to people, they say, what's the use of us voting? Nothing changes.
Yeah.
We need to get out of that mindset, folks. Your vote counts. Start off at the local level. Next week, I'm going to have the mayor of Plainfield, John Argadelis, as a guest on the show. And also, we are reaching out to the mayor of Naperville and also the mayor of Joliet to see if they would like to come on the air. Very important topic. I know I'm kind of flipping between topics today, but our governor, our good friend, the governor, has come out with a proposal, or is coming out with a proposal to have zoning authority taken away from the cities and villages and centralized in Springfield. Okay, so he's coming out with that thing that Springfield should have the authority to determine the zoning for the entire state.
Well, that sounds unfortunate. Like it happened in Texas. Chris and I are very aware of what the the Texas did to the local rule in Denton County when Denton County, Texas, decided to have a ban fracking in their city limits within their city limits, and the current state senator, I forget her name right now, but she came in there and put the kibosh on that and said, you don't have the jurisdiction. They took away local rule to regulate any kind of oil industry endeavors like fracking. So, and that's stuck. That's stuck. They haven't overturned it.
Well,
So
and
this,
now we are talking, Mike, we are talking here about the state having the decision-making power of the density in your town, whether
Mm.
how many single-family homes can be built, whether you can bring in the particular business into town or not, whether you can have a religious institution, because when you come like I'm on the planning and zoning board over here now in La Village, right? I'm one of the commissioners over here. If people want to do something and they want to get a variance and a rezoning thing, I mean, they come to the local. We know what is happening in our towns.
Right.
We are the
Yeah.
boots on the ground. You can't be having this determined from Springfield. But that is something that we are going to be discussing hopefully next Sunday. So if you guys want to join the conversation again, folks, we are having some intense discussions today on the lightning strike. The number to call in or the number to text in is 773-763-9278. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't get up early in the morning on Sundays. Okay. They are either sleeping off the libations from Saturday, and I'm being very polite on that. Okay. And the Greek Orthodox Church, by the way, had their Easter on a Friday night and Saturday morning. So
Wow.
happy Easter to our Greek Orthodox friends and neighbors over there for celebrating their Easter. And I don't know. I don't think that Trump was aware of that. Otherwise, he would have come up with another rant on Greek Easter also.
I wanted, there was three words, we the people. What happened to the saying, we the people, that's written down within our constitution? We the people. Where's the voice of the people? It's like they're not being heard. The voices are not being heard. They're being heard on the street through some reporters, some journalists, but it's not being heard in Congress anymore, it seems like. And with this administration, we the people used to ring loud. That was the first thing, that the democracy for what we the people stood for. But now it's like vanishing, it seems like.
Well, I want to
Well,
bring in. Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Mhm.
I was going to say they hear us, they
Mm.
just ignore us because there's no follow through. It's not sustained. And they know they've spent the last 40 years, they being those elected, right? They have spent the last 40 years manipulating the average voter into thinking certain things. Like here in Texas, one of the things is that Texans are conservative. No, not really. It's how you frame it, right? And that's why
Mhm.
we've had 30 years of Republican rule. And the media is working with those in the elected positions to keep people voting on more of a tribal, you're either liberal or conservative, and that's how you vote. And you have to vote that way if you want change. And then they push who is most in this case, corporate owned. That's where we are right now. The corporations own 99.9% of every elected official. And so voting does matter, but it also matters who you vote for. And so if you want them to really listen to us instead of ignoring us, we have to change who we vote for. It's all so interconnected. and trying to make people aware, the voters aware of how all of that works is really, really hard because they have been so manipulated by the media to think this way, and they don't see that they are being manipulated and they have to get out of it by voting better.
And Chris,
And
one of the things that that I want to bring up also is our party leadership. Our party leadership is so out of sync with what the
oh yeah,
common person is experiencing and thinking, both, right?
right, yeah.
I mean,
It,
they want to bring in these legacy politicians who have been in there for years to run again. And now I'm told that they're thinking of bringing back Kamala Harris to run in 2028.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
Dems will lose if they do that.
Yeah.
I mean, does it
They
make any sense?
it doesn't make any sense. They're so stuck and they are so old and they don't know today's reality. When they were growing up, the work you could work for a company and retire with a pension. That hasn't been true for about 30, 40 years now, you know? And they're still stuck in that's the way that it still is. That's the way the economy is. That's the way corporations are. They're doing good things. No, they're not. Not really. And so it really is on those of us who are aware to really get out there and push the whole thing of yes, voting matters, but it's more important who you vote for. And if they're not aligned with you, don't vote for them, especially in the primary. Vote for who, don't vote for who can win. That's how we got Trump twice, is by voting for who you think can win in the Democratic general election. It's time to vote for what you want and
Well,
what you need.
I would love to see some union leaders actually step up to run for political office.
Oh, yeah, that would be
Okay.
great.
Well, Mohammed, in Texas, going back to Texas because it's so exciting what's happening in Texas. Um, a friend of mine, I don't know, not a good friend, but a guy I know, a union leader in State Senate District 9 in Colleyville, the reddest red city. I lived there. And he just won an election for a runoff with the Republicans, and he ran as a Democrat. And the first time ever in Tarrant County that we had that happen. So he's a union leader. He's bringing union power behind him. He's waking up to. I used to belong. Was a delegate with the Central Labor Council there, and worked intimately with the leadership there. And we're looking for people to run, and there's finally starting to run. Good people, solid people. That's what we've needed.
Going to take a
Well,
little bit
the
of
reason
time.
why I brought up union leadership, Mike, is because unions are formed for people who are the working class people. This is
Yeah.
not the corporate owners don't have a union, right? It is the common Joe, you and I, who work for a living, who are union members. So who better to understand the angst of the common man than a union leader? Okay.
That's
Right.
correct.
Mhm.
So I think even union members should bring it up to union leadership that step out of the comfort zone of being a union leader and think bigger for the entire country.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And even then, hold them accountable once they become elected
yeah.
because people change.
That's true.
Yeah,
And
that's the biggest part, holding them accountable. That's also the hardest part.
yeah, and we
Yes, and you
need
have to
to
stay
have,
on.
go ahead, Mike.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you have to stay on them. You can't just say it once or twice. You have to do it every day. You have to, have town hall meetings. You have to show up, get the microphone. You have to get other people to get the microphone. Um, you were mentioning something about leadership. Our DNC leadership just rejected resolutions aimed at condemning AIPAC's influence in the Democratic primaries. What's that all about? We should be
Just think
outraged.
about it, and that's something that we're going to be
Out-
talking about with Alderman Byron Sixto Lopez also.
Good.
He wrote a wonderful op-ed in the Tribune the other day, and that's what caught my my attention, and that's why I reached out to him to come and talk about these issues and other issues.
Right.
Again, I started off, Mike, with saying, why are we allowing a foreign country and their agents, and they are not even registered as a foreign agent? Remember that, okay? Under the Foreign Agents Registration Act and the FERA,
Right.
they're not registered. And anytime that anything happens, yep, they are at the table funding these politicians and then owning them.
Mhm.
That is why we don't see a change. That is why we don't see a spine. Because like Sheila was saying, their spine is fused.
Yeah.
Their spine is
Mhm.
fused with the dollars that these guys are throwing at them every election cycle.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
And I
like
think we should
Sheila
have,
said that, where's
we
the
should,
voice of the people? Where is of the people? Well, it's being drowned out by the voice of money and APAC's influence, and that has to stop.
and Mike, the only way that can stop is obviously Citizens United needs to be overturned, okay, where corporations were given a blank card into putting in any amount of money that you want into elections. And I think we are probably one of the only countries in the world who allows this, right? And then we have corporate interest throwing money at elections. Just remember that Raja Krishnamurthy, who lost his Senate bid in the primary, thank God for that, had $29 million in his campaign fund. Can you
Yeah.
imagine what we could have done with that kind of money? Okay. And the guy keeps on saying, oh, no, 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 my family grew up poor. I was in food stamps. I know I've been there. Oh, yeah, Raja, when was the last time that you had to hustle to put food on your table?
Right.
So, I mean, again, nothing personal against Raja Krishnamurthy, but he is a perfect example of corporatization in the political world. And I know there are multiple others out there. So we need to have term limits, number one, and we need to increase the term of Congress from 2 years to at least 4 years. So 4 years, 2 terms, maybe 3, and that should be it. We should not have someone in Congress for 30 years. Oh, no, 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 they have institutional knowledge. Please don't tell me that. Do you think they read that, 500,000 page bill before they vote on it?
Mm.
No, the people who are putting them up there, they tell them what to vote for. They tell their staff what their interests are. And that is something, folks, that we need to talk about in more detail. It's 9 o'clock. We'll be taking a top of the station break soon, and then we'll bring in, Alderman Baron Sexual Lopez, who will be joining us to talk about some of the issues that he is passionate about. And if you want to have any say in the conversation, feel free to call us. 773-763-9278 is the number to call in. And remember, you can go back and listen to the entire show on our website and our YouTube channel. And our new website is up, TLS for The Lightning Strike, tlsradio.com. Please go visit the website, and you will find on the website that there is a way that you can support to keep this show ad-free. And if you can start supporting independent journalism, we would be very, very, very grateful to you for that. So 9 o'clock, I don't know if the station is taking a break or not. I don't hear them taking a break. Sheila, if I hear them taking a break, we'll continue the conversation off the radio. We are live on Facebook at the moment also.
I have a question.
Go
I
ahead.
wonder where America rates on the scale of best countries in the world. At one time, we were so revered as the best place to be, and everyone wants to come to America to have a better life. And I wonder where we would stand right now if there was a global rating. Where would America be on that scale? Because there's such a global distrust right now because of our administration. And I'm sure that we would not be number one. Even though America is still great, there's a lot of great things happening. There's still opportunities here, but our numbers, I'm sure, are dwindling because of what's going on. So just kind of curious. I don't know if there's any polls out there or not, but I don't think we'd be the number one place, even though they say this is the best place to live still today. But we're the microscope is on America right now. I'll say that, and the world is watching. The world is watching.
And Sheila, it's not just where we are as a country in the world. It is what are we doing to the rest of the world?
Mm.
And
Well, Sheila, we are number one in global power and military.
Yes,
The U.S.
true.
continues to be ranked the most powerful country in the world. Okay, so
Mhm.
that seems to be, we never lose that kind of
well, and think, Mike, we are going to lose that status also. Okay. The reason why I'm saying that, because traditional warfare has changed. Okay,
Mm.
with the new technologies that are coming in. Here we
right.
have Iran producing a drone for like $20,000, and that drone goes in and shoots down a $5 million aircraft. Okay. So that is where the difference is going to be coming in the future. And I would like to bring in Alderman Byron Sixto Lopez into the conversation. Good morning, Byron. How are you? If you can please unmute yourself.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you again so much for joining us at such short notice. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And Marie has asked me to convey her appreciation to you. She's traveling today, so Marie will not be on the show. And you are going to be grilled by professionals now, okay? Okay.
Good morning. Good to
So
see you. Good to
I've got
see
Dr.
you.
Sheila White on the line here with us, Chris Hilbert and Mike Patino. Mike Patino is actually traveling. He's in Maui, Hawaii, joining us from
Oh,
there. And
yeah.
we got Brendan Bond also joining the conversation. He joined the team recently. Our new format, Byron, allows us to do the show from anywhere in the world, and we can have a guest from anywhere in the world. And the audio is going directly to the WCPT transmitters, so people can listen to us live on the radio in the Chicagoland market, and also worldwide on the heartlandsignal.com website. And then we are live on Facebook, so people can watch us and listen to us live all over the country and the worldwide. And so, folks, I would like to welcome Alderman Byron Sixto Lopez to our show today. He is running as an independent for Congress, and we will let him talk more about that. But Byron, what I wanted to do is start off with, I read the op-ed that you had in the Tribune, right?
Mhm.
So what prompted the op-ed? Why did you feel the need to step up and write this?
Mhm. Well, thank you, Mohammed. It's great to be here, and thank you. Good to see you in this beautiful Sunday morning, despite of the times, and in a moment where we see so much suffering in our communities, abroad and at home. There's so much suffering, so much pain. We're drowning on catastrophes. So it's easy to miss what's happening. People are really barely making ends meet. They're working, they're overwhelmed, they're watching horrific images every single day. There's a genocide happening at the hands of the Israeli government. And at the same time, as we've seen these atrocities, AIPAC just poured $22 million into our Illinois congressional races. They supported candidates that are okay with this genocide, or opposition that doesn't do anything to stop this ongoing genocide and the actions, the atrocities of the Israeli government. So in our hometown, billionaires are now patting themselves on the back. Billionaire Michael Sachs being one of those leading voices pro genocide and supporting AIPAC publicly. And that's a problem. It is important that we understand how this state of terror is happening and how it's getting funded. So it is not enough just to tell people that we need to get Trump out of office. We need to start organizing at home and demanding answers from our elected officials, including Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is the lead of and a leading voice in the Democratic Party nationally.
Well, let's talk about it, Byron. I think your hand is coming in front of your face.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. So I was like, what is that on the side over there?
Yeah,
So-
sorry. I'm holding my phone. There you go.
Okay. So how do you think JB is part of the problem? And before we go into that, I don't know if you've been listening to the show or not. Next week, we are going to have the mayor of Plainfield, John Argedelis, as a guest on the show. And we might also have the mayor of Naperville and the mayor of Joliet on the show. And
Oh, wow.
what we wanted to talk about with them was the state. In other words, JB is thinking or proposing that the state should have the right to zone the rest of the country. So they want to take the right of zoning away from the local villages. Okay. So we're going to be talking about that next week. But yep, coming to J.B. Pritzker. Okay. Great governor, great everything. I know that he's got plans for the future. But what is happening with him?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'd love to catch up on also the issue of zoning. That is very important. I'd love to catch up that. And I do listen to the show. And in terms of Governor Pritzker, he's indeed has done some very good work to protect Illinois residents and Chicagoans during the pandemic and many other great things that the governor has done. But when it comes to, and yes, we must take Donald Trump. We must take him down. But it's not enough to take down Donald Trump. We have a billionaire class that is governing our country, that is taking us to endless wars, and we have billionaires on both aisles. Mm-hmm. So Governor Pritzker oftentimes plays it safe, as you know. He always is very careful with his words. But now I see a very concerning pattern when he is going out of his way to defend billionaires like billionaire Michael Sachs, as I mentioned. He spends, the governor spends a lot of money buying elections in statewide races. We saw that in the comptroller race, for instance. We had really great candidates like Senator Villa, for instance. Mm-hmm. We also see how he's controlling the debate on what can be discussed or not. We saw how even nationally, the Democratic National Convention is saying that we don't need to talk about AIPAC, even though it is in the mind of every single voter across the country. And also, his position on not taxing corporations in a time where city budgets, municipalities in particular, are getting suffocated by the federal government. So we don't need a benevolent billionaire who makes decisions in the best interest of himself or his billionaire friends. We deserve to know where the governor stands on Israel, on AIPAC, because that is a fundamental question and position in this moment, especially for someone who wants to lead the country. And also, in a moment where we see AIPAC coming in and opposing legislation locally, as you know, in the state of Illinois, we have a BDS legislation where we should not be investing on genocide. That is a right to choose. That's a First Amendment right. I believe that it's important to know where the governor stands on that piece of legislation. Where he's, we want to know. We want to hear from here. Where does he stand? And in order for us to survive, here when people, as you know, in our community, we got people who are retiring who cannot pay for their property taxes, even though they have their home paid for. We have people who literally cannot have food on their table, access to medical care, medicines, even sending kids to childcare is a problem. So in a moment like this, we need to work for our constituents and not for the billionaire class. And it's worse to stop us from taxing corporations and billionaires.
Byron, one of the things I'm glad you brought out that about retirees who are unable to live in the house that they paid off because of property taxes. And one of the things that there was a case that I tried to help out recently locally over here. Someone wanted to apply for food stamps. Okay. And they are on Social Security, both husband and wife. And together, their Social Security is coming up to about 2,000, something like that. Okay. So the food stamps people are telling, hey, your income does not qualify you to get food stamps. What do you mean? Well, you don't have any expenses. Your expenses are not enough to offset that you can get food stamps. Okay. I mean, the system is so messed up. And we have to address those. So I've got Chris and Brendan and Mike and Dr. White on the team over here. Let me see if they have any questions for you before we go further with our conversation. We got enough time today to talk about things, Byron, that are of importance to us as citizens of this country.
Absolutely. Thank you.
One of the questions I would ask, thank you, Alderman, for being here on today. One of the questions I would like to ask you is about how do you plan to protect the rights of people with disabilities? Regular people that don't have a disability, they're struggling. They're trying to make it in this economy that we're in. And there's so many rights being taken away. Even ICE comes in and there's stories how they have manhandled people with disabilities and taking them away, and even citizens of the United States. We see different footage of them, throwing them on the ground, and people have mental issues. How do you plan to protect these kind of individuals with disabilities and the things that are on the table, because so many benefits are being cut daily? DOGE came in and just took a lot of supplemental benefits away, Medicare, Medicaid, and things along that line. So I just want to give a voice to your opinion on people with disabilities and protecting these individuals.
Thank you for such a good question, Dr. White. It was tragic. Just last week, I was talking to my wife, and one of his coworkers had lost one of his best friends, a veteran with disabilities who have lost his disability check, and it was tragic because sadly, he burned himself alive in the house. I mean, the despair of people. I mean, how does the federal government withhold or messes with, the checks that people hard? I mean, these are veterans. These are people who paid, with their whole livelihood. These are veterans who are coming home traumatized, that have a disability, and that's how we treated them. And look, I mean, here, and that's what I take issue with billionaires like Michael Sachs and others, that in the past, remember, they dismantled single room occupancy units. They dismantled them. They let developers take over thousands of, that's what our veterans, people with disability, live. As chair of Housing and Real Estate Committee, I see the suffering that we inherited. 30% of people in the streets unhoused are veterans or people with disabilities. And it's sad that, we, on top of that, close mental health facilities. I'm proud to say that one of the first actions when new progressive Mayor Johnson came into office, reopened mental health clinics. One of them was in our ward. I tell you, I will credit the improvement in terms of our safety statistics, because people are not statistics. I want to be very careful with that. This is important, that every life matters. But I tell you that alone, reopening mental health clinics have had a tremendous impact on saving lives and create safer communities. But it's not enough when we're seeing the level of cruelty that is deployed on people with disabilities, in veterans who have served our country, and they're cutting benefits, access to VA. So one of the things that we don't want to cut benefits for people who have served our country, veterans, people who are now dealing with disability or trauma. We need to expand those benefits and do it for everyone, right? Access to medical care. Look, there was this example that we've been giving. When imagine what we'll be doing if we would take in those $42 billion that Trump gave to a dictator in Argentina, $42 billion that we can put to create more safety nets, reopen more mental health clinics, expand benefits for veterans and their families and people with disabilities and their families in our cities. Imagine what we can do. And as shared housing, I'm telling you right now, we are determined to go to the state. I'm going to go to Springfield to make sure that we talk about housing for veterans, people with disabilities. Right now, we have a one system policy where we have intake facilities. But I tell you, it's heartbreaking to see people with disabilities coming and having to wait months
Okay, I
and
think
months.
we have a caller with a question for you, Alderman, and if we
thank you.
can bring the caller on. Go ahead. You are on the radio with Alderman Byron Sixto Lopez. What's your question?
Hi, good morning. When my parents voted a few weeks ago, they showed me their ballots and your name wasn't on it. Why not?
That's a great.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Thank you for that question. And I was going to come for that also. Before you answer that, Alderman, let me again remind people that the primary election, in a lot of ways, especially in the district that the alderman is in, was rigged. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And rigged in a way that I had actually called out the retiring congressman who waited till the last day before the filing for the primary so that no one else could be on the ballot. Byron, go ahead. What's your answer to that?
Yeah, well, exactly what you said. In a time where we're talking. I mean, millions of people have said, no bosses, no kings, no bosses. And in a time where we see the need to fight for democracy, the need to fight for fair elections. We saw the sitting congressman use his Madigan style tactic to, at the very possible minute, withdrew his petitions, hide his retirement, and effectively anoint his chief of staff, Patty Garcia, in a secret deal to have her as the only choice in the Democratic primary. Unlike the other four sitting congressmen that withdrew and retired but allow an open primary, we are the only district, the most immigrant working class district in the state that was left without a primary choice. So that's what I'm running as an independent, to make sure that people have a voice, that we tell the establishment that is not enough, is that we're not okay, with such tactics. So now I have to run as independent. I have to run and I have to collect almost 11,000 petitions to get on the ballot. My goal is to reach 17,000 by the end of May, and to be on the ballot on the November election, so that people have a choice. So the people in the 4th Congressional District have a choice, and the voters and only voters can decide who is the representative.
So let me explain again the process to you folks. Is that when you want to run in the primary, you have to collect petition signatures, and usually it's about 500 or so to get on the ballot, but there is a time restriction on it. Okay, so you cannot wait till the last minute to collect those petition signatures. There is a cutoff date by time when your petition has to be submitted with the required signatures. Mm-hmm. And if the retiring congressman who wants to retire and not run again waits till the last day before announcing his retirement, there's no way that other people have enough time to get into the race. And then he retires and he anoints his chief of staff, who had already got her petition signatures ready to submit to the State Election Commission. She's the only candidate in the primary. That's why you did not see Byron's name on that. And now, coming back to the system is so rigged that if you want to run as an independent, you have to collect 11,000 signatures versus 500 or 600 if you were there in the primary to begin with. So they want to keep good people out of office. They want to keep good people out of challenging the status quo. I think our friend Brendan had a question for you also. Brendan, if you could please unmute yourself.
First of all, Alderman, I want to say thank you for being on the show. It's been great to hear your perspective this morning. It's been very insightful. And I did want to ask, how is it, and I know the general election campaign hasn't really started yet, but how is it running for office as an independent? Because I remember seeing an article in the Tribune a few weeks ago, and also, you know, going through the State Board of Elections website and just seeing how challenging it is to get on the ballot as an independent candidate in Illinois.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brandon, and thank you for your question. As Mohammed was mentioning, as an independent, we have a much bigger threshold. We have not only 500 petitions. We need to collect a minimum 11,000 petitions, more or less 11,000, maximum 17,000, which makes it easier for the Democratic establishment to challenge petitions and knock people out of the ballot. Also, people who have circulated for other candidates cannot circulate for us. Yep. Fortunately, so they make it extremely difficult and nearly impossible for independent to run in such a big district. Fortunately, we've been fueled by the power of the people. I'm great to say that I'm very inspired and encouraged by people across the 4th Congressional District that have that believe that we must fight to have a real democracy, a real choice, especially when we see the threats of rigging elections in November. We got to lead by example. So I tell you that it is inspiring looking at the doors, the number of volunteers. We have over 300 volunteers at the doors. We have over 1,000 plus donors that are fueling this movement. So I feel inspired by the need of representation, by people expressing the need to have a fighter, a real voice, and someone who's working with people across the district, not telling people what to do or what to say, or anointing people in a times of no kings, no bosses. I feel inspired by the hardworking people of the 4th Congressional District that are encouraging us to keep on fighting every day, to be on the ballot, and to be their next congressperson in November.
Well, Maria Muzaffar has also joined the conversation. Good morning, Maria. Welcome to the Lightning Strike.
Good morning. Good morning, Alderman Byron Lopez.
Good morning, Maria.
Okay. So coming back to what you're currently doing at the City Hall now, what have you been working on over there? I mean, having the City Hall job and then trying to run as an independent, I take my hat off to you. If it was Mike would have lost all his hair. Oh, he already has.
Too late. Too late.
So what have you been working on at City Hall that you can update us on?
Yes, thank you. So we've been working as chair of housing. I've been very focused on affordability. That's a thing that is very much in people's lives and across the district. I call the 4th Congressional District, and in City Council we've been working on affordability. So we have a very innovative. We are a pioneer in that. We have just last year approved the green social housing. Now we are implementing a innovative model, just like in other international cities like Vienna. Where a 1-bedroom costs about $300. That's what costs in Vienna, a city like Chicago. So we're increasing our stock of affordable housing. We invested, at least $125 million for these revolving funds so that we can increase the number of affordable housing options in the city and keep our city affordable and keep fighting to make sure that our city remains somewhat affordable. We're also working to address the issue of the unhoused. So we're working right now on a one system policy where our state and city is actually working, just like Dr. Sheila asked me, to address the issues of unhoused people with disability. Unfortunately, domestic violence victims that are in need of shelter. That is one of the main reasons why, unfortunately, women stay with abusers, because sadly, there are not housing options. So we're working to make sure that we get the state and city to invest on that. And of course, we are just past the accessible dwelling units, so that we can legalize coach houses, attics, and basements. That's going to create thousands of units that are going to be affordable. So these are some of the things that we must do, and we got to keep investing to make housing a human right. Was very inspired what I've seen in other cities. So we need to keep investing in housing. We have also a TIF bond so that we're not relying on TIFs. So $600 million to invest in more housing. Our goal is to reach between 5,000 and 10,000 units in the next 5 years.
Byron, let's not also forget that when people talk about TIF, TIF is actually a tax on citizens. Okay,
Yes,
it's not just it's something that is given away from someone's money. It is a tax on citizens. Okay, folks, we need to discuss more about TIFs in a future program. But I want to ask you something. Let's say that you had a magic lamp and you rubbed the lamp and a genie came out and said, Byron, you can have 1 day's money of what we are spending in that stupid conflict in the Middle East. $2 billion per day is what I'm told is being spent. Okay, not to count all the other stuff that is going on. What would you do with something like that? 1 day's money coming to Chicago.
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, let me use an example of what Trump said that it cannot be done, and I show how it can be done, right? So
Okay.
Trump recently, I'm a father of triplets, right? So childcare, they're almost 4 years old. So I'm going to use the exact same example that Trump said that he cannot be done, and I'm going to prove that it actually can be done with very simple math. So Trump just said literally that states, not the federal government, should provide childcare for families. That this is something that the federal government cannot do, and that there's something that only states can do. For the exact same price tag, you said the $2 billion per day that is being used to bomb innocent children, ironically, right? Bombing innocent little girls in Iran, we can have childcare for every single child in America. That is just a mathematical fact. So this is the kind of stuff that we could be doing if we put our funding where our hearts are. We talked to Dr. Sheila about people with disabilities. I mean, these are vulnerable residents. These are people like veterans, right? So I think I tell you that with the amount of money that we put in wars, and it is about time that we go to Congress and audit the Pentagon, that we, strike Citizens United and this big betrayal bill to put that funding, those billions of dollars, I would say trillions. The billionaire class got the biggest corporate tax break in the history, $1 trillion back to corporations and billionaires. If we put that money in the pockets of Americans, we can have Medicare for all, housing, education, and childcare, and veteran benefits. All of it is within reach. We are the richest country in the history of humanity, and it's unacceptable that we are allowing these atrocities that are creating unsafe conditions abroad and at home.
Hey, Byron, we do have our ally in the Middle East. Don't forget that we are paying for their health care, for their education,
Yes.
for medical, for their veterans. We're paying for all of that. And so let's not forget about that.
That's right. But we said Americans first, right? America first. But Americans are actually last, that we are an afterthought. And I tell you, that's what is important that we ask Governor Pritzker, where he stands on this important critical issue, because it is possible that we treat Illinoisans and Americans better, and the dignity of people has to stand with taking stances on moral issues like this genocide in Gaza and Iran.
Yep, we are coming up at the end of our conversation. We are talking with Alderman Byron Sexto Lopez, who's running for Congress in the 4th Congressional District. Maria, you got any final questions?
Yeah,
for the
I have a
alderman?
question for you. You had stated something about it's about time that we put our money where our hearts are. So, if we have not been putting money where our hearts are, what has been dictating where we spend our money and why we spend our money in certain places?
Well, as a country, I tell you that we have allowed foreign lobbying like AIPAC to dictate those. And look, budgets are moral documents. Budgets are moral documents, and we have spent. That's what I mean. I don't think that when was the last time there was an audit on the Pentagon. But I tell you, the endless wars that we're putting in Latin America, in Cuba, in the Middle East, in Africa, is creating despair, and is creating actually thousands of people to migrate. We received 30,000 Ukrainians in Chicago. We forget about this. These wars create migration in a massive way. So I tell you that this foreign lobbying that has put Americans last has happened for way too long. way too many members of Congress and the Senate are complicit with this. And I tell you that just looking at the Epstein class, the pedophile billionaire class that is still yet to be held accountable, shows you a lot of where the priorities of government are to protect abusers, to protect war criminals, to protect war crimes and cover them up. So this is the moment that Americans, the 350 million Americans, all of us who will wake up, will stand up and fight back.
Exactly. Let me know what I can
Well
do for
said.
you. I'm going to come down there today. I'll just fly away from Hawaii right to your district.
All right.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well,
This is what we
I wanted
need.
to, I wanted to end the conversation, folks, on a very important news that came up just recently, that the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has signed a decree establishing a universal health service aiming to provide free, unified public health care to all citizens by January 1, 2027. Okay.
Wow.
Our neighbor, Mexico, who came in, when they can do it, why the heck can't we do it over here in our country?
Exactly.
And that is something, again, Byron, thank you so much for joining us. And I know that you have a lot of other things that you want to get to. And how do people get to support you, Byron?
Please, thank you so much. Please join us. You can visit our website. That's the best way to connect with our campaign or social media. BSL, B as in boy, SL for Congress.com. Come and join the movement to bring people together and defeat the only minority destroyer in our country, the billionaire Epstein class.
And remember, when you get elected, and I'm not saying if you get elected, when you get elected, sir, we are going to hold your feet to the fire. And if you become a part of the swamp over there, we're going to come and drag you out of there and beat you up in Chicago. Okay.
Rescue you.
I know that I'll be greeted by this group and Marie, my good friend Marie. I know that she'll be all over that.
Oh yeah, Murray is not going to let it go for you. Thank you so much for joining us, folks.
Thank you so much.
Alderman Byron Sexto Lopez joining us this morning on the Lightning Strike. And let's go straight to Maria Muzaffar for breaking the echo chamber. Maria, good morning.
Good morning. I think one thing that Alderman Byron is stating that we just can't underscore is the education of everyone around the nation about global affairs and how global affairs control so much of our budget. And, I was thinking about this as I was watching the mediations in Islamabad and all of the questions and the reporting about Pakistan being the mediator and then how this happened and then the two countries coming together. And you just realize how many information gaps there are of where America sits as it postures across the world and what different countries bring to the table that America doesn't even know. And so I just think that the fact that he said, and that's why I asked him this question, you're saying that we should follow our hearts. Are the American hearts awake to where the world is? Is the average American understanding that we paid taxes to bomb little girls in Iran? Are we awake to that? And I think that is the cultural competency, the global curriculum that our citizens and our public schools need for us to understand and to connect these two things, because that's why we're in this position where there are foreign lobbies and then there's discussions about putting budget into global initiatives and missing out the domestic policies that are priorities. So I think he just displayed the information gap that we have in this nation. One thing that I wanted to ask him, but I know that he was here for a while and I came in after he started speaking. In New Jersey, I don't know if you read this, but the governor of New Jersey had mandated a law that ICE agents had to not be allowed to wear masks, and had to wear IDs. And so this law was passed, and so the ICE agents just basically responded very recently and said, no, we're not going to follow these rules because of the supremacy clause. And that is a question I wanted to ask Alderman. Anyone that goes into Congress is, how are you going to deal with the supremacy clause when there are violations of the Constitution? Will your position be using the supremacy clause to violate the Constitution is a violation of the supremacy clause? What comes first? It's a very interesting legal argument, right? The supremacy clause is in the Constitution, but what if you use the supremacy clause to violate the Constitution itself and say we are untouchable? And so that is what has happened in New Jersey, because the ICE agents have stated we don't have to listen to you. So all of those discussions, the policy narratives about safety, about ICE agent safety, about people being kidnapped and pretending to be ICE agents because they don't have IDs, or people putting on masks and acting without any kind of accountability because they can't be identified. All of those things that are security measures for public safety are out the window. So what we're seeing is the use of the supremacy clause, saying we can do whatever we would like because we're the federal government, and saying we have decided that public safety is underneath our political policy arguments and position on immigration. Because the policy position on immigration has been political, because it's been challenged. It's been challenged based on you're not just arresting criminals. It's been challenged on the fact that you're separating families, that you're causing trauma with children and families, that the detention centers are privately owned and they're making money, right? So it's a political policy decision that you've made on how you're going to carry out immigration enforcement. But then you've also stated, by citing the supremacy clause as your defense, is that political position is more important than public safety. And so then the question is, when we ask the question of, it's time for Americans to follow through on what is in our hearts. What is in our hearts? Is it to protect children abroad and in global conflict and not have that on our hands and our conscience and our taxpayers' conscience? Is it to provide public safety for every single person that walks our streets? And you would think that on our hearts, those things are a priority. So I think it's an interesting discussion to have, and we'll see how New Jersey responds. The second headline, I don't know if you read this, but two judges, Judge Patel and Judge Froese, were recently fired. They were fired, they're immigration judges.
Texas, yeah.
Yes, they were fired by the federal government because they had ruled that the detention of two pro-Palestinian individuals was unconstitutional. And one was Mr. Mohammed Murtati, I believe, and the Turkish graduate student of Zurich. And I think that both of them were targeted because A, they were not U.S. citizens. Two, they were speaking about pro-Palestinian views. And third, they were not engaged in anything violent, but they were writing and advocating and speaking. And that is what's critical, because what you're going to basically analyze here is not what they were saying. It's really the fact that they were speaking. And so once you can identify that speaking is a crime if you're not American, then it's a very slippery slope, as we all know, that speaking is a crime when you are American. So it's the freedom of speech. So really this comes back to what is in our hearts. Is public safety in our hearts as Americans? Is protecting children abroad that are innocent civilians, is that on our hearts? And is freedom of speech on our hearts? Are those three values what we're going to vote into when we advocate for people to run for Congress or donate money or vote? And I think what we're seeing is a trend to change our value system, right? We're changing our value system as a country. It's happening in real time. Kids are not important, public safety is not important, and your right to speak is not important. Now, the question about federal judges being fired, now these are immigration judges. So the immigration judges being fired, what is the message that is sent to all of the judges that are immigration judges now? They're basically saying at the end of the day, if you don't follow what we're telling you as public policy, which is changing the value system of our nation, we're going to fire you. We're going to dismiss you. So that really takes away the autonomy of the judicial process. It takes away the protection of the judicial process. And it brings into question what is the role of the executive branch when it comes to the judicial process. And I think it's interesting because they were not fired based on ethics. They were not fired because they made a legal error or they read the rule of law wrong. Their mistake was they did not align with the policy measure that the administration wanted to follow, which is If you are not American, we will not protect your right to speak. And now I want to go into exactly what this op-ed was written, what the op-ed stated, that this Turkish graduate student stated. And was she advocating for violence? In the op-ed, the lawyers are very clear, the ACLU is very clear that she was not advocating for violence. For those of you who are freedom of speech nerds, you all know you can't run into a crowded theater and yell fire. So there are some things that are not protected because they cause chaos. So when you are specifically arguing that freedom of speech is dangerous, let's define what that is. And according to her lawyer, she was not advocating in any way. In fact, she was stating that the university that she was addressing did not handle the protest correctly. It was a critique of civil disobedience. So all of these things, these nuances need to be discussed. Because as you know, when you speak about freedom of speech or changing the value system of a country, you start with people that are in the country that are not American. That's how you tell them who you are, right? For example, I think I stated recently that I was traveling in the UAE earlier this year, and one thing that somebody told me, the cab driver actually, this is what he told me. He said, you know, if somebody addresses me in a discriminatory manner, if they insult my religion or my ethnicity or my culture, they actually get fined. They get fined. It's not tolerable in this society to insult somebody based on their race or their background, right? So that is the value system. That is what they've created through policy as their value. So whether you're American or not, whether you're in the UAE or not as somebody else, everybody is protected for that process. Nobody can be disrespected. So our value system should extend to people that are outside of, that are not Americans, right? Because that is who we are. But what we're seeing now is that we're using the example of non-Americans to erode our value system for Americans. And that is the breaking of the echo chamber that is so necessary. Who is going to dictate the value system of this country? Political policy initiatives, or is it going to be Americans that think with their heart and soul?
Well, Maria, very, very well put. And we started off this morning actually talking about the ceasefire talks in Pakistan, in Islamabad, and the caliber of people that represented Iran versus the caliber of people that represented the United States. We had Jared Kushner. I mean, what are his qualifications, except for being the son-in-law of the president? Steve Witkoff, okay, real estate developer and stuff like that, right? No foreign policy experience to begin with. And then J.D. Vance, of course. I mean, he was looking for a couch over there in Islamabad. Didn't find it. Okay. Look at the Iranian side. We had Arakchi and the other guy, PhDs, diplomats through and through, very well grounded in diplomacy. And then we send these jokers out there, and all we are doing is we are buying more time to make sure that we go back and continue this fight. And why was Israel not there at the table? That was the question that we had in the first hour. And you can go back and listen to the conversation, folks, on our website, tlsradio.com. And while you're there, please support the show. So it's tlsradio.com and also on our YouTube channels. Maria Muzaffar, thank you for breaking the echo chamber today, this morning for us. Please
Mohammed,
continue.
I wanted to address this. I wanted to tie it back to this discussion about the peace talks. I mean, this question about who we use, why is it important who represents us, what the qualifications they have, what academic political diplomacy qualifications they have. And you think about the fact that judges are being fired based on not being able to agree with the political positions of an administration versus the legal issue. So this is really a competency issue, right? And I think we have to understand that competency plays a big role. And I honestly feel like with those talks, were the individuals that were representing Iran, in the words of Jon Stewart, are these really the top guys? Like literally, like, I mean, you have to think about what they're seeing. Like, oh, this is the best you got, And I think I go back to cultural competency, global relations, understanding the world, how people communicate, what their priorities are. Are you speaking to a country or a civilization? civilization that has brought in so many innovating things. So when we are in a deluded position of our own amazingness, you realize that you're limited in your capacity of understanding the world, because no country should be deluded about their power, because it'll show up in places like this where you actually have to fire judges who agree and decide properly on the rule of law. That's what happens.
Let's also not forget that our unqualified Secretary of Defense, who tried to rebrand it as the Department of War, which has never happened in our country's history, fired all the military personnel, the top generals, who did not agree with going and killing innocent people all over the world. So on that note, folks, I want to bring back in Dr. Sheila White with our Person of the Week. We have moved the segment to the end of the show starting this Sunday so that we can have a smooth transition into the rest of our day and not have this complex world on our mind going into the work with Dr. White. Who are your guests, and would you mind introducing them?
Well, our guest for this week is two co-founders of the company Lit for Life, Miss Tanisha Thompson and Caitlin Bird. They are with a company that is helping to get people in alignment with their inner self. So it's a good time to bring this segment in because we're going to talk a little bit about Lit for Life. Tanisha, why did you get started with Lit for Life? And explain to us a little bit of what this company is and the products that you all have.
Thank you so much. So how I got started is it was just an overwhelming feeling of there's got to be more to life than what I was currently experiencing. Like I kept feeling like there was more for me. And what that led to was at the time I was working at a job that I absolutely hated. But I started developing my character through watching YouTube videos on people that started their entrepreneurial journey. I started watching a lot of those videos and connecting to what it is to be an entrepreneur. And I had no idea what it was that I was going to do, but I knew it was something. And fast forward a few months later, my mom said to me, Tanisha, I think you really would like candle making. And I told her if I was still thinking about it in 30 days that I will order my first candle making kit. I know something about me is I can be impulsive. And I said, if I was still thinking about it, if it was on my mind, then I would start. And 30 days later, it was still on my mind. And I ordered a kit off Amazon, a little small candle making kit. And I fell in love. I fell in love with being able to choose my own scents, my own color, being able to add little toppings to the top of the candle. All of it brought out my passion for creativity. And it didn't take very long before I started ordering fragrances and learning what it was to be a candle maker. And I got set up in markets right away. All of it happened so fast. It was a lot of nights of not sleeping because I found this new passion, this thing that I loved. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing was, this is a business. What name can I give it? And it started out with It's Lit Candles by Tanisha. And I knew I wanted the lit to be an acronym. And it really was a connection with God on what the acronym would represent. So Lit for Life is an acronym for love, inspiration, transformation. And it started out as just candle making, right? But as I evolved in the business, God really started showing me the truth of my journey and the things that I were not expressing myself in my full truth. And one of them was being connected to a marriage that I didn't feel fulfilled. And I started addressing the things in my life that felt like a lie. And then it allowed me to dive into a self-care journey and really started connecting to what felt resonant to me over the beliefs that were just implanted into me by school, by church, by parents. I became disconnected with that. And I called that my year of unlearning and relearning. And I started relearning myself and relearning that I thrive when I'm creative. I love to create. We're made in the image of the creator, and it feels good to create. And it really was a breaking down of I was trying to get all this love from a relationship, from a marriage.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it wasn't until I started discovering my passions that I really realized that love comes from within. And then the mission became, I want other women to know this. I want other women to know you don't have to be in relationships that are not serving you, relationships that are not making you happy. I've been in domestic violent relationships, physically abusive, verbally abusive, emotionally abusive. And that was a result of me not really knowing my worth. But making candles started showing me my worth. And it became a mission to impact other women. So I went through the divorce process. I moved. I started connecting with the women around me. I had friends around me, and I started sharing what I learned, what helped me, and that was self-care. And
Self-care.
Kaylin was part of that journey. She was part of the story of how we can help other women. And at the time, she was deep in raising the kids and being married. And me and my friends at the time came over and helped her in her home, helped her clean her house, helped her just as a mom connecting with another mom. We started helping her clean her house and started helping her realize that there was family, that there was community that exists. And ever since that connection, we've planted so many seeds that transformed into not just making candles, but candle making events. And through these candle making events, we show women their creative power through connecting through candle making. And it really becomes a spiritual experience because we don't make enough space for ourselves. You know, we give to everyone else and we put ourselves last a lot. And the candle making events allow us to put ourselves first, to get in that creative space, to teach them what it is to set an intention over a candle. Because once you mix that wax with that fragrance oil and that scent, that's your creation. And you have the power to use your words to affirm what you want to see in that process of creating. So that is what we teach women, how to set intentions. And then when they burn that candle, every word of affirmation that they spoke over that candle, they're releasing that energy into the atmosphere.
Let's talk a little bit, Caitlin, about your.
Again,
I just have a question
just a couple of things I want to make sure that people are listening in. And if they have any questions for our guests, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. And I'm throwing it back to Dr. White.
Yeah, Caitlin, I just want to ask you about the vibes that happen at your workshops, because you guys do these awesome workshops with, corporate people, businesses, people that are homemakers, all types of individuals. There's a vibe, there's fun, there's energy, there's synergy that happens at these events. Talk a little bit about the alignment of these women and all these people coming in together at these workshops that you all do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. White. We have really an unmatched vibe, and it's because we've figured out how to create that for ourselves. Like she said, that tapping into the creativity and tapping into the spiritual aspect of who we are and how important we are. It's this walking in our light and our power and shining that for everyone. It's contagious. It really does always have people asking, why are you laughing so much? Or why so smiley? And it's just because it's this contagious energy that we've generated because we are so connected to God and the source and to one another. So that energy that we share with the women and men that join our workshops and our classes is magnetic, and they leave feeling more grounded. They leave feeling lighter. They leave feeling more worthy than they knew they were when they walked in the door, because they didn't understand that there is time to pour into you. You've had all of these moments and all these previous times that you didn't pour into yourself. You didn't know that you were worth it. But when you just hear that one outside voice, sometimes it takes someone telling you, you really are that one. You really are special. And you get that vibe from us in our parties. And it's hard to not want to stay connected.
Love, inspiration, and transformation, Muhammad. That's what we need more in America. That's what we need to hear today. More love, more inspiration, and more transformation. That's what the world needs more of. How can our audience get a hold of you? Because people around the world need more of all of this that you all have. So how can they get a hold of you?
You can find us.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say you can find us at allthingslit.com. Our website is shoppable. You can choose to host an event and reach out to us there. But you can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, Lit for Life. That's L.I.T for life, FORLIFE, and book our parties there. You can also set any self-care sessions and workshops that you would like to. We host community events, churches, bars, restaurants, corporate, team building. Really, the list is endless. So any
Okay,
possibility.
we got Adil calling in with a question. Good morning, Adil. You are on WCPT on the Lightning Strike.
Good morning, Lightning Strike folks. I want to thank the entrepreneur. I just wrote down your business. I was literally writing to myself. Ernest Holmes is my favorite metaphysical teacher, and what you shared is exactly the metaphysical process of manifestation. And your creativity, topic, it was just perfect. I thank you. I'll look on your website. I'm sending you blessings for expansion of your business and love. And then my second question is, who is the excellent woman speaking about the global and how we think about things, the conversation before All Things Lit company came on?
We have Maria Muzaffar is part of our team, Adil, and I'll let Maria answer that question. We got 3 minutes to finish off the show today. So Maria, if you could, please.
Well, first of all, Adele, thank you for your words. I think that it's so amazing to hear from people and see that there's agreement on the way we should view the world. So I thank you for your words. And I want to kind of tie it back to Lit for Life, because I got to tell you guys, this message of you sometimes need one person. You sometimes need one person to say, you know what? Have you looked at your life? Have you looked at the potential here? You got only one life. You've only, you come and you go. So you've got one life. And for you to be the vehicle to remind people that their life is valuable, I mean, it's an investment in the rest of the nation and the rest of the world, because we want people walking around with their head held high. We want them walking around to be creative and to be like, wait, I was brought into this earth to create something.
Yeah.
And so we want to see the creations of the world. So I thank you so much. And I appreciate you so much. And thank you, Adele.
Thank you. And could you be kind enough to tell me your name? I am going to write to Thom Hartmann. I love Thom Hartmann, and I would love to hear you on his show. I'm going to write to Richard Chu. I'm going to write to Cleopatra, who's going to fill in for Joan Esposito. I want to hear more of you. And if you could tell me your name.
Okay, Adil, basically, if you go back on our website, tlsradio.com, you will find Maria's information on there, and her background, and Dr. White's background, and our entire team, Chris and Mike and Brendan and everybody. We are trying to make a difference in the world that we live in. Like Maria was saying, we have only one life to live, okay?
Yeah.
Let's do something to give it back to others. And that's what we like to do on the show over here. It's not just about politics. It's not just about holding people accountable. It's how can we make ourselves better as people, as persons, as neighbors. And that is something that we like to talk about all the time in our personal lives also. Folks, it's 1 minute to 10 o'clock, and we'll be finishing off the show in about 60 seconds. And if you'd like to learn more, go to our website, tlsradio.com. And also our YouTube channel is TLS/@radio or TLS Radio. And our Facebook page is TLS Radio. We're trying to come across to you in as many ways as possible. And if you can go to our website and support the show to keep it, free from advertising. We don't take corporate advertising. We are never going to take any corporate money to bring these messages to you. Thank you all for listening in. Thank you all for joining the show today. Thank you, Chris and Mike Patino, Sheila, joining us all the way from his vacation in Maui, Hawaii. So you can see the passion in the team for not letting go of even one Sunday. We've been doing the show consistently for 2.5 years now. This is our third year, and we have not missed a single Sunday
That's amazing.
in these 2.5 years. Okay. Thank you so much for listening in, and thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for listening today.
Thank you.
And we'll be back on the air next week with some very interesting conversations with the mayor of Plainfield and the mayor of Naperville and the mayor of Joliet, hoping to join us to discuss about what is happening in our state. And then we
Yeah.
can continue the conversation as to what is happening in our country. Thank you for listening in, folks. Over and out. We are finishing the show today. I'm your host, Muhammad Fahim, with the Lightning Strike team. And we welcome you for all your questions and your participation.